Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show. Doug Lesmerises and Bill Landis. Landis, we are talking about how many veteran quarterbacks there are going to be in major college football this year. The Power 68, there's just a gazillion of them. And having now absorbed this research, are you surprised by how many old dudes we're going to have slinging the ball in 2026 in college football?
No, for two reasons. One, that just seems to be the thing that everybody wants, and two, it was like kind of young last year, so
yeah,
this is just sort of the natural progression of things.
We are. I think you nailed it. It's so many teams, like, Indiana wins the national championship with the Heisman winning quarterback who's going to be the number one pick in the draft. And they're not saying, okay, they didn't tell his brother to step up. Here you go. They told his brother to get lost. They didn't say that. I'm sure they said, Alberto, we love you, man. But he went to Georgia Tech. It's not going to be a new quarterback at Indiana. They got a guy who's been a 3-year starter. So it is, right. That's part of the new era. We just understand that now, right? That's just how some subset of these winning teams are going to address quarterback more often than not. They go from one guy who's been a veteran to some other guy who's a veteran, and they make their decisions in the portal.
I don't. Is it a subset anymore? I don't. It's like the whole sport, I think, right?
It's
like
how the sport works.
Yeah. We'll see. I guess. Ohio State feels like it's an outlier here with the way that it still wants to go about its business. I think everybody more or less wants to fall into this pattern, I guess, until there's proof that you can win otherwise. And I'm sure that day will come, but that we haven't gotten it yet.
And we're not analyzing what's happening in the group of 6 quarterback situations. We're not analyzing what's happening in FCS college football situations, but there's. So when we're just looking at it like this, there sort of is an unlimited supply of veterans, because the tier 1 teams can bring in a tier 2 veteran quarterback. The tier 2 teams can bring in a tier 3 veteran quarterback. And you can always dip down, right? That if you're in the middle of the Power 4, you can find a group of 6 guy or an FCS guy who's been a starter. If you're Wisconsin, you go get the Old Dominion quarterback, right? But then if you're Indiana, you go get the TCU quarterback. And so like that, there's and if you're in the top tier, if you don't want to start a new quarterback, you probably never have to again if you don't want to. And Indiana might be the example of the program that doesn't want to.
Yeah, I don't know about Indiana, certainly in that mode right now. With time and more demonstrated sustainability, might they ever get off that? I think there was a time probably last year where I would have said of course, or maybe going into last year where it's they probably want to get to a place where they can recruit and develop their own guys. But I don't know. I don't know that I believe that now, because I don't know if I believe that about anybody anymore. I'm fascinated to see what this all does to the freshman quarterback market and how the position's even recruited moving forward, right? Because it's not any cheaper to get those guys out of the 5-star guys out of high school, but no one patience is gone now. The by and large, the patience to bring those guys in and actually develop them from the program and from the players too. So it's a pretty volatile time, I think, in college quarterback play. And I thought that 3 years ago, unsure of where it was going, and it's even more volatile now.
Is it one of those where, for instance, and I'm just trying to think of an example, I hadn't thought of this previously, but we look at something like the recruitment of Jared Curtis in this freshman quarterback class, and he was committed to Georgia. It's okay, well, that makes sense. He's the best quarterback. He's going to one of the best programs, and he ends up flipping late to Vanderbilt, and now he's projected to be the starter at Vanderbilt unless Diego Pavia gets a 14th year and gets to play at Vanderbilt in 2026 as a 41-year-old. So if that doesn't happen, then Jared Curtis is going to be the quarterback. And I think still initially when that happened, it's sort of holy moly, Vanderbilt flipped a 5-star quarterback from Georgia. Yep. That's crazy. But if we think about it like this, well, Gunnar Stockton's going to be the starter at Georgia this year. Georgia has a good returning starting quarterback. Jared Curtis wouldn't have been the starter. So Jared Curtis can go to Vanderbilt, start. If it goes great and he loves it, and they're not a tier 1 team, but they almost made the playoff last year. They're now, I'd view them as a tier 2 team right now. But still, if Jared Curtis if his ultimate goal is to be the starting quarterback at Georgia, I'm not so sure his best path isn't to go be the starting quarterback at Vanderbilt for a year or two and then go be the starting quarterback at Georgia. It doesn't change the end game. It's just, why would he go be the backup at Georgia? And honestly, I don't even know if Georgia's mad about that. Not that they have a wink, wink, but if they love the kid, they won't give up on him, and they'll be back channeling his doors off to get him to Athens eventually. And so instead of being like, holy moly, look what Vanderbilt did, it's like, well, it's good for Vanderbilt. If they can keep it for 4 years, great. If not, if they get him for a year or two and he's good and they get some promotion out of it, great. And then he can go to Georgia anyway. And this is the way of the world now.
I don't know if that was, I don't think there's a subplot to this where that is the plan, but it's certainly a possibility. I think it'd be a heck of a thing for Georgia to treat an in-conference team as like a farm system, but I do think that's possible with the way that this stuff is going. Even like, I don't know, look at where the top quarterbacks in this year's recruiting class went. Like, it's Houston, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, BYU, right? Like, it's not Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama in the top 5. Like, there are 4 or 5 star quarterbacks. One of them went to Texas, and the other 3 went to Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Houston. That's weird, but I think it's a little bit reflective of the situation where guys want to get here and they want to play right away, and I think they know. And those aren't bad programs necessarily, but I think they know that, like, that's not a bad place to start, and who knows what opportunities might be afforded to you a year or two down the road after you start early at those places. Now, I don't know, like Curtis is going to start. I don't know that Keyshawn Henderson's going to start at Houston, but I guess he could.
Connor Wegman's back. I would guess no.
I would guess no too, but Connor Wegman also stinks. But so let's see how that plays out. And then I guess, like, there's the Joey Aguilar thing with Tennessee that we have to wait to figure out before we figure out whether or not Faison Brandon could potentially start as a freshman there. But yeah, I don't think you're going to see many 5-star blue chip quarterbacks anymore go to places where it's like pretty evident you're going to have to wait 2 years to start. And I frankly, I don't blame them.
Yeah. So you treat, and it is it not a win-win for everybody? Like, if Vanderbilt's being used by Jared Curtis and George, it's like, use us. Great.
We get 2 years of Jared Curtis. Yeah. Great.
And then when Jared Curtis leaves, we'll go take, some American Conference quarterback and bring him in to be the, like, everybody's using each other. And I guess there's not a downside, but we just have to keep thinking about it in a new way, because you were not surprised, but I don't know if people would be surprised that by this projection, and all I did was go through the Power 68 teams and just think about who's probably going to be the quarterback. I'm not being some quarterback magician. I'm just reading what other people are writing about what's probably going to happen. And by my count, 68 teams, 31 are expected to start new transfers at quarterback in 2026. 27 are starting returning starters. So it's like, this was our guy last year. He's still going to be our guy, but he has experience. And that's 58 of 68 that are not doing the thing that you used to do, which is like, we have a backup, our starter graduated or our starter left, and now the backup's the starter. 58 of 68 are not doing that, or not in a position to need to do that. I have 6 teams that is the plan, including a place like Clemson, for instance, where they have like a veteran guy who's been around forever, and now they're going to elevate him. That's the plan, it seems, that Cade Klubnik is gone. And then 4 places where you would view it as a battle, including at Alabama, but none of the people in the battle really have much experience at most of those places. So 58 of 68 kind of have it locked down, and they don't have it locked down with the number 2 from last year. But you're saying, like, do you think that's like the new norm? Part of it is the cycle, and we'll get into that. There's a bunch of these good teams that are just happen to be cycling together, but it's also maybe just the new norm, generally speaking.
I do think it's the new norm now. Could this be a slightly extreme version? Maybe, like, because I think last year that number of teams that was doing it like the traditional way was that pool was a little larger, and more importantly, like, larger kind of like at the top of the sport. So we'll see what those programs decide to do, like, moving forward. but I would imagine there's at least a chance anyway that they kind of stay on, like, we have our guy, we developed them, we develop the next guy kind of thing. But I don't think that number of teams anymore would ever exceed, like, I don't know, 15 or 20. Like, I do think like the majority of the power conference teams are going to be in the position where a lot of them are going into this year.
We had this same discussion a year ago about whether veteran quarterbacks and a returning, our quarterbacks started games before. He started for a year, for 2, for 3. He has 12, 20, 25, 30, 35 starts under his belt. And we'll run through some of the most experienced guys for this year. Do you view that as an advantage or no? We had this discussion last year. We'll continue it this year as we try to evaluate the best teams in college football in the preseason. Is quarterback experience something that is a plus?
Yeah, I think so. It's not a guarantee, right? There are plenty of old bad quarterbacks or old average quarterbacks, I think, but I don't know. Even like, in the environment around them matters. I do think even like, we just saw Carson Becht play for a national title. I think old average quarterbacks can get you a decent way in college football too. So, yeah, I think it's an advantage. I think there will be like the occasional young guy who comes pretty close to breaking through to the point where, like, it's fine that you're playing him. Like Julian Sayin was close to that last year. I think CJ Carr was that for Notre Dame for a lot of last season. But by and large, I think it's true that quarterback advantage or quarterback experience is an advantage. And I think everyone's racing to get it now based off of how the last 2 playoffs have gone.
So let's talk about how different this is than last year. Last year in the preseason top 25 in the AP, 6 of the top 8 teams had a new quarterback or a mostly new quarterback. Texas was number 1, new starter in Arch Manning. Ohio State number 3, new starter in Julian Sayin. Georgia number 5, new starter in Gunnar Stockton. Notre Dame number 6, new starter in CJ Carr. Oregon number 7, mostly new starter in Dante Moore, who had started like half a season at UCLA, but then had been at Oregon and sat out a year. So like not totally new, but new to Oregon and different circumstances. Certainly not a veteran in my book. And then Alabama had Ty Simpson as a new starter. He was older, but he had never started before. So that's 6 of the top 8 had a new quarterback. And then you go down Michigan at Bryce Underwood with the true freshman. They were at number 14. So it's 6 of the top 8, 7 of the top 14 had new quarterbacks. And that, to me, I remember thinking like that's a big deal. And it's part of why I and a lot of other people, Penn State at number 2 and Clemson at number 4 were the different teams in the top 8 last year, where Penn State and Clemson with Drew Aller and Cade Klubnik each had third-year starters back, and that felt like an advantage. And I was sort of like going through, it's like, where's the veteran quarterback advantage? And as you're handicapping the 2025 college football season, and then it turned out that it was, I think, not the only thing, but part of the thing to look for the veteran quarterbacks. You're just looking for the wrong ones. And you weren't looking for Drew Aller and Cade Klubnik. You were looking for Carson Beck and Fernando Mendoza. But I do think even as good as Arch Manning and Julian Sayin and CJ Carr and Gunnar Stockton and Dante Moore and Ty Simpson were, I do think there were some young moments, some inexperienced moments that maybe did hold those teams back just a little bit, that made the idea of veteran quarterbacks are an advantage ring true, even though all those guys were good. Right? Sure. Nobody, even Arch after his terrible start, like he didn't completely bomb, but I think there would be reason for all of those guys who were back, saying Arch, Moore, Carr, whatever, Stockton. You would have more faith this year because of the bumps and bruises they took as first-year starters. You would have more faith this year, and I don't think it was a misread. It was like a misidentification of which veterans to believe in. But to me, I'm still gonna give an edge to veteran quarterbacks for now. For now,
I think I would too. I do think it's important. And this is with the benefit of hindsight. So, like, nobody was saying this last year, but I think now that we've sort of gone through it, like, you could look at Cade Klubnik and Drew Aller like, yeah, they're old, they're third-year returning starters, but like, how much of their situation has changed? Like, I think you could have done like a more sort of like honest assessment of everything involved with both of their situations and come to the conclusion that they probably had plateaued. Like there wasn't another level for them to get to. And not to say that means they were going to be bad, but were they actually going to be the guys that kind of like elevated to go win a national title? Whereas like Fernando Mendoza wasn't blowing the world away when he was at Cal, but he was good. He had some like special moments at Cal, and then you like put him in this Indiana system. Like, of course he's going to get better, right? And even this, I would say the same thing for Carson Becht, right? Like, put him around Malachi Toney. He's got a great offensive line. They got a great running back in Mark Fletcher. They're not asking him to do too much, I think, as part of that offense. Like, it was just a better situation for him too. So I think there are some lessons in there as we assess like this crop of QBs going into 2026. Like, yes, old is great. I think old is important, but it's not like the end all be all. And you can be an old quarterback in a bad situation. You can be an old quarterback who's like kind of in the same situation. Like, I think of like Rocco Becht, right? Like, Rocco Becht was a solid quarterback for Iowa State, but why would I think that Rocco Becht would be anything different at Penn State than he was in Iowa State when all he's doing is playing an Iowa State offense while wearing a Penn State uniform, right? So I think you have to be a little more discerning about figuring out where exactly the guys who are going to pop come from, and not merely bank on experience, which I think is a trap that a lot of us fell into last year when looking at Allard and Klubnik specifically.
I do think part of it is there's so many veteran guys to choose from, right? That you especially as it works out this year, I do think it's very natural to view anybody with a new quarterback, and we'll talk about who that applies to, as a little bit of a disadvantage, because even if this team's veteran quarterback doesn't hit all the way, like, there's so many veteran options this year. I do want to look at the playoff real quick, the playoff from last year. 10 Power 4 teams made the playoff. 4 of them had guys who were in their third year as starters. Fernando Mendoza at Indiana had transferred from Cal. Baron Morton at Texas Tech, who wasn't very good. Trinidad Chambliss, who had been at Ferris State and has started, I think, 24 games at Ferris State, wasn't the Ole Miss starter to begin the year, but took over and was obviously a key to their season. And then Carson Beck at Miami, who had started 2 years at Georgia. You then had Marcel Reed was in his second year as a starting quarterback at Texas A&M. John Mateer was a second-year starting quarterback. He had been at Washington State and transferred to Oklahoma. But here's the point that I want to make. It might be unfair, but if you look at the first-year starting quarterbacks who made the playoff, Julian Sayin at Ohio State, Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, Dante Moore, again, kind of like a year and a half starting quarterback at Oregon, and Ty Simpson at Alabama. We were sort of waiting for Julian Sayin maybe to elevate in the playoff. He went 22 of 35 with 5 sacks and a loss to Miami. Like, didn't exactly elevate, right? Gunnar Stockton in Georgia, he was 18 of 31 and a loss to Ole Miss. Like, they put up some points, but like, I don't like it. Would you expect Gunnar Stockton in the same situation in 2026 to be better? I think maybe you would, right? Even though that game was kind of a shootout. Like, I don't think they lost, and Gunnar Stockton saved them much of the year, but I don't know that he was great in the loss that kicked him out of the playoff. Dante Moore, they won 2 playoff games at Oregon, but then against Indiana, he threw a pick 6 to open the game, had a fumble in his own territory to set up another Indiana touchdown, and like kind of melted down a little bit against a great Indiana defense. But I think sort of in that moment felt a little young. And then Ty Simpson, who wasn't young but wasn't experienced, was 12 of 16 for 67 yards against Indiana, and then got hurt, and like Indiana tore his arms off. And people think he might be a first-round pick in the NFL draft, but like in that moment, he'd never quite, been in a playoff. He hadn't been in a moment like that in a playoff situation, certainly. They beat Oklahoma. I understand that. But in the game that knocked him out, it was like, was the quarterback play what you needed? Probably no. Does that mean anything? I'm bringing up like, hey, the first-year starting quarterbacks didn't win the national title. And when they played good teams at the end of the year, they weren't awesome. It's like, well, yeah, they weren't awesome. They're playing great teams. They're playing great defenses. Is that anything?
No, yeah, I think it's something. And also, if you, I think you could just look at stats and arrive at that conclusion. But really, if you watch the way those guys played, like, they looked inexperienced, right? They looked like, and not for the entirety of the game, right? Like, Julian Sayin had some nice moments against Miami, but he looked a little overwhelmed at times. And I think that's probably true of all the guys you mentioned. So it's not just, what was your completion percentage and how many interceptions did you throw? It's like, when you drop back, did you look confident in what you were seeing and what was happening? And I think, for a decent chunk of all of those games where those guys ended up losing, I think you would say probably not.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to be unfair, but part of it is, man, think about all those guys who are back now and what they might do now that they've had all the good and bad experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I think, is the most and again, people don't have to write this down. If you want to write it down, great. I made a little spreadsheet, shared the spread. I successfully shared the spreadsheet with you.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Can you sort? Can you sort ascending and descending? Right. It's not just a picture. It's an actual malleable spreadsheet. Look at me.
That's right.
Send it on a text message. I find these numbers to me are a little like holy moly. And so get ready for this. This is, and I should give credit for this, but I can't remember who I got it from. I thought, like, you know what? There's all these way too early top 25s that everybody does. You should do a consensus. You should find whatever, the 6 to 8 to 10 to 14 that are out there and make a consensus. And then some guy did. And I was like, oh, this is great.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I took that.
That's fine.
But I can't remember who I took it from. So this is not, but that's the top 25 I used. I'm now going to run through the way too early top 25 with their projected starting quarterback and how many career starts that quarterback has made in college football. Okay. We all good? Everybody get it? We know what we're doing here? Strap in. Here we go. Number 1, Ohio State, Julian Sayin, 14 career starts. Number 2, Indiana, Josh Hoover, transfer from TCU, 31 career starts. Number 3, Texas, Arch Manning, 15 career starts. Number 4, Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, 15 career starts. Number 5, Oregon, Dante Moore, 20 career starts. Number 6, Notre Dame, CJ Carr, 12 career starts. Number 7, Texas Tech, Brendan Sorsby, transfer from Cincinnati, 30 career starts. Number 8, Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, 21 career starts. Number 9, Miami, Darian Mensah, transfer from Duke and Tulane, 27 career starts. Number 10, Oklahoma, John Mateer, 24 career starts. Number 11, BYU, Bear Bachmeier, 14 career starts. Number 12, LSU, Sam Leavitt, transfer from Arizona State, 20 career starts. Number 13, Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss, 29 career starts. Number 14, Michigan, Bryce Underwood, 13 career starts. Number 15, USC, Jaden Iamaleava, 24 career starts. Number 16, Alabama is the first team in the consensus way too early top 25 who is not going to have an experienced returning starter at quarterback. It's either going to be Keelan Russell or Austin Mack who are battling for it. Russell was a 5-star freshman last year and didn't play. Austin Mack is a guy who followed Kalen DeBoer from Washington. Neither of them have started a game. We get to the 16th team in the country before we don't have a quarterback who's at least a 1-year starter. So don't hold your breath, Bama. Number 17, Penn State, Rocco Becht, transfer from Ohio State, 36 career starts. Number 18, Utah, Devin Dampier, 26 career starts. Number 19, Washington, Damon Williams Jr., 15 career starts. Number 20, Louisville, who I was a little surprised at. Is Louisville a consensus? Number 20 preseason team, great. Lincoln Kienholz, transfer from Ohio State, 0 career starts. That's our second team in the top 25 without an experienced guy. Number 21, SMU, Kevin Jennings, 26 career starts. Number 22, Iowa, a battle probably between Jeremy Hecklinski and Hank Brown, 0 career starts. Missouri, Austin Simmons at number 23, transfer from Ole Miss, 2 career starts. Number 24, Houston, Connor Wegman, 26 career starts. Number 25, Vanderbilt, Jared Curtis, the freshman we talked about, 0 career starts. But really what we're talking about, the top 19 teams, Bill, 18 of the top 19 teams have a vet at QB. If you don't have one, you're screwed.
You're correct. I will. Hank Brown has started twice.
Oh, congratulations to him.
He started 2 games at Auburn in 2024.
I apologize to Kirk Ferentz and the
Doesn't
Iowa
matter,
offense.
But they have 2 starts, not 0 starts. Yeah, that's insane. That's it's crazy.
That's the show. That's why we're doing this show, because that's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. But it's good that we just know we can eliminate Alabama from any playoff consideration on February 19th.
What's the can we start the clock on this? We're recording this at 11:35 Eastern on Thursday, February 19th, and I am starting my Kalen DeBoer countdown to firing clock. Here I go. I'm hitting it on my watch right now. Boop. Is there an app for that? Can we create that app? The Kalen DeBoer countdown to firing. Oh my God. Is it too late for me to get a transfer quarterback from Division 6? Because we got a bunch of now we're also talking about like is Keelan Russell, who is a 5-star quarterback. He's like Keelan Russell's exact. Here's the thing. Russell is exactly what Julian Sayin was last year, what CJ Carr was last year, as like a second-year guy who was a major recruit, was a backup as a true freshman, and is expected to elevate into a starting role in year 2, which actually at major college programs is exactly how it should work. But Kalen DeBoer is sitting around saying, wait, I thought we all agreed this is how we did this. And everybody else is like, nah, we got Rocco Becht. Sorry, we got Josh Hoover. No, sorry, we're bringing back Julian Sayin and Dante Moore and CJ Carr and Gunnar Stockton and Arch Manning and all these guys who have done it before. You're on your own, Kalen. When actually that's the old expectation. And now, right now, they are on an island among the top 19 teams in the country. It's remarkable.
It is, and it's not like they can make it's not prohibitive from making the playoff. I don't know Alabama's schedule. I'm not going to pick whether or not they're making the playoff right now, but
they're not.
They're not. Yeah. So, but I do like I'm not going to consider them to win a national title because they don't have an old quarterback. I think until someone in this new era, and we're only doing it for 12 years, but like. In the 4-team playoff, like young quarterbacks did kind of break through and help their teams win. But in 2 years of doing this, that hasn't happened. So until it does, I think I'm probably going to write off any team that has a first-year starting quarterback when it comes to picking national title winners.
Yeah. Career starts among the expected Power 4 guys. There are going to be 8 quarterbacks with at least 30 or more career starts. Joey Aguilar, if he gets his 17th year at Tennessee, they're suing everybody. I don't know. It'll go to the Supreme Court. Like, again, miss me with all this stuff, but I guess he might be the quarterback. If he's the quarterback at Tennessee, he has 36 career starts. Rocco Becht, Penn State, 36 career starts. Jalen Rayner at Iowa State, who's an Arkansas State transfer, 36 career starts. Noah Fafita, Arizona, 34 career starts. Byram Brown, transfer to Auburn, followed Alex Golish. He was from South Florida. He has 32 career starts. Josh Hoover, Indiana, the TCU transfer, 31 career starts. Anthony Calandria at Nebraska, UNLV and Virginia transfer, 31 career starts. Sorsby at Texas Tech, Cincinnati transfer, 30 career starts. There are 31 quarterbacks, so this includes the 8. 31 with at least 20 or more starts who are projected to start in the Power 4. There are 46 of 68 with 10 or more career starts. One of the things here, and I don't know, so not all transfers are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
The 31 expected the transfers expected to start, they're not in a battle. They kind of were brought in to be the starter. 13 of those 31 were Power 4 starters last year. That's like Rocco Becht. That's Josh Hoover, right?
Mm-hmm.
10 were lower level starters. They were starters either in the group of 6 or FCS. This is like Colton Joseph at Wisconsin, moving up from Old Dominion, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's what we would have seen with Trinidad Chambliss in the past, like Drew Mestemaker following his coach to go from North Texas to Oklahoma State. He fits in that category, that kind of thing. And then 8 are Power 4 backups somewhere else who are now transferring to be the expected starter at their new place. This is like Lincoln Kienholz going from Ohio State to Louisville. So that's one of those where I'm like, hey, you got your transfer. Like, I talk about that in a way that's like, hey, you brought in a transfer, you figured it out. Not every transfer is a slam dunk sure thing. So if you're Louisville and you're like, hey, let's go get this Ohio State guy. We think Lincoln Kienholz is a fine quarterback. It's not like Louisville's like, lock it down, sign us up for the playoff. Lincoln Kienholz played 14 snaps at Ohio State last year. Let's roll. Right? So we don't want to count every transfer the exact same way.
I think it's very important to not do that. But that's just good advice for transfers in general, right? Like, we've had this conversation many times in the past. People, I think, misconstrue action in the portal for actual additive moves, and it's like just because
Yes.
you got a guy who transferred in does not mean he is better than what you had or that he is going to be good. So
Yeah.
but I think like a lot of these older guys, it's probably a fairly safe bet anyway that the floor is pretty high.
Yeah. No, that's what so like it's one of those would you rather I get bringing in a veteran transfer who's played. I think if I'm going to play a guy who's never played, I think I would rather play a guy who's been in my program who's never played. If you were a backup last year and now you're projected to be the starter, if I were the head coach, I'd rather have my own backup than somebody else's backup.
I agree. Yeah.
So some of these teams, let's see who's expected to play a backup as their transfer starting quarterback. Ashton Daniels at Florida State. He was the Auburn backup last year, right? Louisville with Lincoln Keenholz is going to do that. Davis Warren, the former Michigan starter with a year they had no quarterbacks and then was the backup last year to Bryce Underwood. He's projected to be the starter at Stanford. Good luck to Stanford. Maybe they should drop football. West Virginia is expected to start Oklahoma backup Michael Hawkins, who has 5 career starts, but he wasn't the starter last year. Again, Missouri is projected to start Austin Simmons, who was the starter at Ole Miss to start last year, got hurt. Trinidad Chambliss took over. So he was like the backup then the rest of the year. He has 2 starts at Ole Miss. Florida's projected to start this Georgia Tech backup. What is Florida doing? John Sumrall. I guess good luck to him. What is going on?
Yeah, Aaron Philo. People liked Philo a lot though at Georgia Tech. Right? He was just stuck behind
Haynes King.
Haynes King.
Yeah. Kentucky is expected to start Kenny Minchie, Notre Dame backup. That actually, I think it's a smart move. Georgia Tech losing Philo, expected to start Alberto Mendoza, transfer from Indiana. So, I mean, it's just like one of those that, again, it's not always a sure thing. Do you think we're going to get like another Fernando Mendoza? And it's not just Fernando Mendoza. Like we've seen so many transfer quarterbacks. When it was like Michael Penix and Bo Nix and those guys, it wasn't, necessarily in year 1. It was more like in year 2 that some of those hit. But would you expect that a transfer, if you could bet on this, a new transfer quarterback who is in year 1 at his new team will be a Heisman finalist?
Yeah.
So then it's like, name that quarterback, right?
Oh, I'm like looking at this list and like it keeps changing and I'm wondering why. It's because like whenever you do something, it changes on mine.
Oh yeah, look at that. We're collaborating. It's the collaboration button. I'm sorting. Yes.
Yeah. No, I think that will happen, and I have a guy who I think it'll be.
Oh, well, give it to us. Who's this year's Fernando Mendoza?
Brendan Sorsby.
Okay. Brendan Sorsby, who, again, the remarkable thing about this, one of the more interesting things of the Indiana Curt Cignetti story is that, like, Curt Cignetti arrived and Brendan Sorsby was like, I'm out. Or I don't even know exactly how that went down.
Yeah.
But for what Indiana did with Curt Cignetti and having Curtis Rourke and Fernando Mendoza give Indiana great quarterback play the last 2 years, they also could have just been like, we'll just keep Brendan Sorsby, see what happens with him. Because now Texas Tech is paying $14 gazillion for Brendan Sorsby.
Yeah, and it's not the price tag. It's even when he was at Indiana and Indiana was bad, Sorsby had some flashes. That's why we were excited when he went to Cincinnati. And I think he was okay there. Better than okay there. He was and had some really good moments at Cincinnati too. But he for me is a guy that like I mentioned earlier, like he's been pretty good, has definitely had some flashes of high upside, but probably needs more around him to like really take that next step. And I think I haven't studied Texas Tech's roster to be perfectly honest, but with the way they spend money, I'm kind of making an assumption that he'll have some better stuff around him. He did have good weapons at Cincinnati, but he's really athletic. He's got good size. Like he's definitely an NFL prospect. So I think he might be the guy who's and like the change of scenery I think is interesting too. That's why I think you could pick Rocco Becht for this if you want, but I just like have a hard time seeing him being more than what he's been, which is like a fine quarterback, but he's not really in any kind of different situation other than he's going to be playing against better defenses more regularly than he was at Iowa State. So I think if you're looking for a guy, I think Sorsby would be a good pick. Obviously you could say Hoover because he's the next Indiana guy. I don't know. I might I think I would fade a couple of them too, like Byron Brown. And maybe even Darian Mensah. I don't know.
Yeah. It's hard because you go through it and it's like, oh man, 31 teams expect in the Power 4. expected to start transfer quarterbacks. And then actually, like, you start going through the names, and it's like Alonzo Barnett III going from James Madison to UCF, like, watch out. But also, like, I don't know. I'm nothing against Alonzo Barnett III. Like, he made the playoff last year. Like, what am I talking about? That's a playoff quarterback, right? And who would have thought that Trinidad Chambliss a year ago was going to be what he turned into, right? But some of these, like DJ Lagway at Baylor, it's like, well, it kind of didn't work at Florida. So he had great potential, great talent, kind of failed his way to Baylor. And now is he going to be a Heisman finalist? I don't know. Like Aiden Childs at Northwestern is the same kind of thing. The reason he's at Northwestern is because it didn't work out at Michigan State the way a lot of people, including us, would have thought that it might have worked out. Like TCU's new quarterback to replace Josh Hoover is the Harvard quarterback. And on one hand, it's like, is the Harvard quarterback going to be awesome in the Big 12? But given the history of what we've seen at the quarterback position, the answer might be yes, right?
Yeah.
Jaden Craig might be a name that every college football fan knows 8 months from now.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember. I think it was him, like when Harvard played Yale, and people were kind of like going nuts about him. Like, this guy's going to be a pretty hot commodity. So yeah, I think so. I think like the guys who are like clearly, and it's obvious, I guess, like the guys who are clearly elevating into a better situation are the ones I think you want to keep an eye out on, not the failed or borderline failed Power 4 guys who had to go elsewhere because their former team didn't want them anymore, right? Even if they're big names, it's like I don't know. Like again, like change of scenery certainly can help, but I don't like, is DJ Lagway any better off at Baylor to the point where he's going to be something different than what he was at Florida? I would guess not. So I'm not, again, I don't dismiss them entirely, but yeah, there's you can get carried away pretty quickly with some of the quarterback movement just based off of like names and recruiting pedigree. And it's like, well, did you watch them play? Like, did you think there was anything there that was actually impressive? Whereas like some of these guys, especially the ones who are moving up, it's like, yeah, like you have to hope that the production translates up a level or up multiple levels. But I would rather, I think, be in that situation than hoping you can like reignite lost potential from a guy who just wasn't as good as people thought he was going to be.
Yeah. So I do think the most impactful part of this is going to be the returning starters. So why don't we run through the Power 4 expected returning starters at quarterback who have all made at least 12 career starts. And there's a couple lower, like Mason Heinschel at Pitt made 8 starts last year, but he's a returning starter to me. Steve Angeli at Syracuse made 5 starts before he got hurt, but he is a returning starter. I'm going to run through the returning starters at their same school, and you just say, like, how about you say your expectation for them? Is it like okay, good, or great? We don't want to say bad. Okay, good, or great for every guy, and then we'll run through it this way. Joey Aguilar at Tennessee, 36 career starts. If he gets the eligibility lawsuit settled, what do you think of Joey Aguilar at Tennessee?
I would say like okay. He was decent for Tennessee last year. I think that can be okay to good. Yeah.
He would be in his 7th year of college and his 5th year as a starter if he gets the eligibility. Noah Fafita, Arizona. What's that?
I said Dr. Aguilar.
Dr. Aguilar. Congratulations to him. Good luck with your lawsuit and all your lawyers. I hate college football lawyers. No offense to them. I would like to throw them in the ocean. I understand that lawyers need to exist and everybody needs representation, but I'm just saying on a gut level, when it comes to college football, I would like to throw all lawyers in the ocean. Not so they would drown, just so they would float away and I don't have to watch them on Twitter anymore. Let's go to the next one. Noah Fafita at Arizona, 5th-year college player, 4th year as a starter, 34 career starts. What do you think of Noah Fafita?
I would say okay. Like good when he had Tet McMillan and Jacob Cowling, but he doesn't. He doesn't have either one, and it's been a few years since he has.
Some flashes, like again, like it's there's going to be somebody in here that pops. I don't think it would be impossible for him to be a guy that really pops in the year 4 as a starter, but we'll see. Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss, 6th-year college football, 3rd year as a starter, 29 career starts. Assuming like his lawsuit doesn't get overturned or whatever, like you think he's going to be a dude this year?
Yeah, if he plays, like I think he's got a chance to be like in the great tier, like one of the better quarterbacks in the country.
Kansas State, Avery Johnson, 4th year in college, 3rd year as a starter, 27 career starts. You and I have spent a lot of time talking about Avery Johnson in our career as podcasters. Like, is it going to happen?
I think probably not to the extent that we thought it was going to. I would say probably just okay.
Okay. SMU Kevin Jennings made a playoff 2 years ago, 5th year in college, 3rd year as a starter, 26 career starts. Kevin Jennings, what do you think?
Like borderline good. I like his flashes have been pretty solid, but he was actually like quite good the year they went to the playoff, and then didn't seem to elevate last year. So maybe more okay.
You kind of expressed this already. Houston Connor Wegman, 5th year in college, 3rd year as a starter, 26 career starts.
Just okay.
Utah Devin Dampier, the transfer. I feel bad for Devin Dampier. Transfers from New Mexico with his OC, plays for Kyle Whittingham. Then Kyle Whittingham goes to Michigan and takes the OC, but doesn't take him because Michigan already has Bryce Underwood. So now Devin Dampier is sort of like at Utah without the guy that he followed. But I think he is still a good quarterback. 4th year in college, 3rd year as a starter, 26 career starts. How's he going to do with Morgan Scalley as his head coach?
I think he could be good. Yeah, I don't know exactly what Utah's doing on offense in terms of schematics, but if it's anything like the system that Dampier's been in, he's already demonstrated that he can be productive at 2 different programs at 2 different levels. So why couldn't he keep doing it?
UCLA, Nico Iamaleava, 4th year in college, 3rd year as a starter, 25 career starts. What do you think Nico might do?
Pretty good, I think. Like I don't. I kind of like Nico. I don't know why, but
we're all the way back around on the Nico backlash. And we talked about this on Around the Big Ten that we did on Monday on this channel, on this podcast feed, this YouTube channel with Audrey Snyder and Matt Fortuna. We certainly would direct you to that show. But just thinking about dark horses, Bob Chesney as a coach that a lot of people are excited about, and Nico just, I think, left the way he left Tennessee for UCLA. It was kind of one of the first things like that felt like, man, this is all about money. What's wrong with college football? And now we're just getting more accustomed to like everything's all about money. What are you talking about? Like, what did Nico do that so many other guys in this sport wouldn't do? And then they beat Penn State last year, and it's like they get like this could be the redemption story of Nico Iamaleava with a new coaching staff, a coach that a lot of people like. And by the way, he is a pretty good player. You can definitely see this emerging as a college football story this year, right? Possible.
Yeah, I think so. I just think I gained a decent amount of respect for Nico, like watching him battle through a pretty tough day against Ohio State when he was at Tennessee and like got his helmet cracked twice and was getting knocked around, and like the way he kind of put his body on the line when UCLA beat Penn State, like he was making some tough plays. And I just think there's a thought that like because of all the NIL stuff and the way that his like kind of journey has gone thus far, that he's like a little bit of like a diva or whatever who doesn't care about winning. And it's like, oh, I think he cares a lot about winning. Like he's not the perfect quarterback, but I think if he was in a situation where the team was competitive and like actually like in the mix for something, he'd be a guy who like elevates and I think like plays pretty well in the big moments.
Yeah. Watch that. Watch Nico. That could be interesting this year. Oklahoma, John Mateer, 5th year in college, 3rd year as a starter, 24 career starts. Made the playoff last year in year 1 at Oklahoma.
Yeah, good. I think he's just so limited as a passer that I don't think I could say like this guy's going to be a great quarterback. But he's got great running ability. He's tough. Like he'll do some of the stuff I was just talking about with Nico, but I think at a higher level. So he's good. It's a high floor, I think.
I think some of the preseason hype last year for Mateer to Oklahoma got a little out over its skis. People were like, because the previous Washington State quarterback, Cam Ward, had gone to Miami and McKinnon, number 1 pick in the draft. And it's like John Mateer. And it's like, okay, Cam Ward's Cam Ward. This is not Cam Ward. South Carolina, LaNorris Sellers, 4th year in college, 3rd year as a starter, 24 career starts. I think maybe like a year ago, people would have thought LaNorris Sellers would maybe get a pop and go because he was going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL, and instead, like it didn't go great. But now the result is you have a really talented quarterback back for year 3 as a starter.
Yeah, I think he's good with the potential for great.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. USC, Jade Maeva, 5th year in college, 3rd year as a starter, 24 career starts. This was on the show we did on Monday around the Big Ten. This was my guy of like the guy in the Big Ten who has the chance to have, the greatest influence on the Big Ten race this year. What's your Jade Maeva take?
Yeah, similar. I think maybe to Sellers, not like for different reasons, but it's like good plus, right? Like I think like he demonstrated last year. He's got some substance to him. I'm curious to see what that step might look like. Now he's, he doesn't have Mekhi Lemon to throw to anymore, and like their receiver situation is a little different than it was last year. But it's quarterback friendly offense. We all know that, so I think he's got a chance to pop for sure.
NC State, CJ Bailey, third year in college, third year as a starter, 22 career starts. Any deep CJ Bailey thoughts?
No, I frankly have not watched him a ton. I know people like him. I know there was, I think, a lot of curiosity of like, might he leave NC State? So I don't know. I don't want to lie and say I have major CJ Bailey thoughts. So I'll just say I'll say potentially good. I don't know.
Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, year 4 in college, year 3 as a starter, 21 career starts. Like not great at the end last year, right?
Yeah, he's another guy's just like a little shaky as a passer. Dynamic athlete though. Good plus. I think like that's more like a Mateer kind of situation for me.
Okay. Next up is it Dante Moore? I think it's Dante Moore. 4th year in college, 2.5 years as a starter, 20 career starts. Like I don't know. I'm trying to look this up. Dante Moore is 13-1 to win the Heisman, which is the 6th best odds, actually tied for the 4th best odds on FanDuel. CJ Carr, the Notre Dame quarterback, who we'll get to in a second, is 8-1. Arch Manning at Texas, plus 950. Josh Hoover, Indiana, 11-1. Jeremiah Smith, Julian Sayin, both from Ohio State, 13-1. Dante Moore, 13-1. I think certainly you could make the case of like Dante Moore perhaps about to take over college football in 2026, but also like what percent certain are you that that's going to be what happens?
I don't think I'm like more certain about him than I would be about a couple of other quarterbacks in similar positions, right? So he's definitely got a chance to be excellent though. Like, and he was pretty good for a lot of last year, like shaky in the postseason, but also like some of the throws he made on the road at Iowa were at the end of that game were pretty damn impressive. So there's a lot there. I don't know. He's not my favorite guy, but I definitely think he's got a chance to be in that great category.
Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, 5th year in college, 2nd year as a starter, 15 career starts. Kind of a baller last year, man. Gotta say.
Yeah, it's another guy. Yeah, I don't know that he blows you away, but I kind of like him too. Good, I think. I think good, again, with the potential to be something more than that, but like a very solid quarterback this year.
Arch Manning, Texas, 4th year in college, 2nd year as a starter, 15 career starts. I know there's been some stuff about like, was Arch too overhyped or whatever? And it's like, we don't overhype a player before the player. We're serving fans. And the idea of like, Arch Manning might be really good. He was a 5-star quarterback. He was the number 1 quarterback in the country. He's from like the number 1 quarterback family of royalty in the nation, and we're going to write and talk a lot about Arch Manning. I find like that's unfair to the player. I find that ridiculously silly because I feel like you can't handle the fact like that like people are saying you're going to be good. Like your great burden in life is a bunch of people writing and saying that you're going to be good. It's insane to me. We don't cover players and coaches for the players and coaches. We cover them for the fans. We don't work for the players and coaches. If you can't handle people saying you're good, that's not an us problem. Sorry. Had that holstered for a bit.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Is he going to be great? It's like, now it's like Arch is like hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, I think he's likely to be great this year. I thought you saw him grow over the course of the season and was definitely playing better at the end than he was early. Now they also weren't playing Ohio State late, so maybe if they played Ohio State again, he would look not quite as good. But I thought you saw it start to come together for him second half of last year.
Washington, Damon Williams Jr., 3rd year in college, 2nd year as a starter, 15 career starts, tried to leave. Contractually, they said, if you try to leave, I don't know, we're going to throw you in the gulag or whatever the Big Ten contract was that kept him at Washington. I guess they talked it through. I mean, again, it's one of those things. You're still kind of young. You're responsible for your actions. It's a confusing time. What do you think Damon Williams Jr. might be for the Huskies?
Good, I think. I think he was probably not quite as ready as I thought he was going to be as a true sophomore last year. I don't think he wasn't awful by any stretch, but especially in the games against the better teams, he looked a little limited, I think, at times. So I'm curious to see what that might look like this year when he doesn't have Denzel Boston to throw the ball to anymore, right? So,
yeah, and Jonah Coleman to hand it to.
And Jonah Coleman's gone, yeah. And who's the other running back? He also transferred, right? The one that we liked.
Yeah, Adam Muhammad.
Transferred
to Cal, right?
So I know they had there was at least one freshman for Washington receiver who ended up being pretty good last year. So it's like he's got weapons, right? And he's with a good offensive coach. So I think he'll be decent, but I don't know that he's going to elevate into like that great tier.
Julian Sayin, Ohio State, third year in college, second year as a starter, 14 career starts.
Yeah, I think he's got the chance to elevate into that great tier. It's interesting. I'm in the middle of like writing a thing right now about Ohio State's receiver situation because like Jeremiah Smith is awesome and will be awesome, but it's pretty uncertain behind him. So it was a nice situation for Julian last year to have Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, and Ohio State I think is going to need some other weapons to emerge for just the offense generally to take a next step forward. But I think Julian, having gone through what he went through last year, will take that next step, and I think he's going to be at the upper end of this conversation.
And by the way, if you want some more Ohio State coverage from us, and for instance, the thing that Bill is working on as a written piece, you can join us on our Substack, BillAndDougOSU.substack.com. We just did a Wednesday show asking our Substack subscribers, what are the new standards in this era for Ohio State football? How many years in the next 10 should Ohio State beat Michigan? How many years should Ohio State make the playoff? How many years should Ohio State win the national championship in the next 10? Like, I thought it was an interesting conversation with great input from our folks, Bill.
I agree. And we invite anyone who might be interested to come be a part of our little community there and help us shape those kinds of conversations.
Yeah, and also help us make money.
That too.
Helps. Purdue, Ryan Brown, fourth year in college, second year as a starter, 14 career starts. I don't know. Like, I kind of think that I wouldn't be surprised with Barry Odom and the fellas in year two if they kind of figured out a little bit.
I think like Ryan Brown is like an okay quarterback who is good for Purdue. Right?
Yes.
Like, I think Purdue could be a lot worse off than Ryan Brown, who's got some athleticism.
Yeah, Bear Bachmeier at BYU is one of these true freshmen, like Bryce Underwood, like our JKS at Cal. These guys who like all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're the starter, so he's back. Year two in college, year two as a starter, 14 career starts, and like again, like I think BYU is they kept Kalani Sitake as like absolutely viewed. They lost Jay Hill, their defensive coordinator, which is kind of a big loss, right? But BYU's there. I can remember, it's just fascinating to me to think about BYU. Their first year in the Big 12, you and I on our show then were like, I don't know if this is going to work out for BYU. This might be a bridge too far.
Kalani Sitake said he wasn't sure if it's going to work out for BYU.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have the roster to be in the Big 12.
And then they figured it out, and it was like a 1 year adjustment period. It feels like they are committed to athletics, and they're going to be able to compete. And like, I don't know if Bear Bachmeier is going to be a 4-year starter at BYU, but like he was pretty darn good as a true freshman. And I'm going to be fascinated by this group of true freshmen who started last year, who are now going to be back. It's like, okay, is it go time? What do you think of Bear Bachmeier?
Yeah, I think he'll be good this year. And he's like, I think BYU's got to like maybe lean in a little more to what Bear does well, and that's maybe to say like maybe run him a little more. But I think he's got a pretty solid baseline to work from. I could see him taking. I wouldn't say he's going to go into this Heisman candidate tier, but I think he's definitely got a chance to elevate and be a pretty solid quarterback this year.
Same question, Bryce Underwood at Michigan, second year as a starter, 13 career starts. Like, is it go time for Bryce Underwood?
Yeah, I think his situation's a little different, right? I would say as a true freshman moving up to starting as a true sophomore, he does have the chance to elevate maybe into that upper tier. And this offense with Jason Becht has been good for quarterbacks, as we mentioned earlier, what it did for Devin Dampier at New Mexico and at Utah. So I don't know if it's going to be exactly the same thing because I don't think that Underwood's going to run nearly as much as Dampier did, but Underwood's also, I think, a more gifted passer with a much higher ceiling just generally. So and they're putting some stuff around him, right? I actually think like looking back, Bryce Underwood did a pretty admirable job as a true freshman starter, considering like the environment that he was in. And this year feels like it's going to be certainly more stable. But I also think a situation where like there's just going to be more around him from a scheme and personnel standpoint that he really could take a jump.
If you're watching on YouTube, we just scratched our heads at the same time. It was kind of silly.
Oh,
I don't know.
nice.
Like you scratched your head and it made me think like, yeah, I need to scratch my head too. Maryland, Malik Washington, same situation. True freshman starter last year, 12 career starts. Like this is really important for Maryland football. They've made some changes. They're going to have a new offensive coordinator. Like, again, we keep listing these guys. You played as a true freshman, that you had some good moments, but man, like you're so important to the future of your program in year 2 and year 3, because part of the point of playing as a true freshman is taking lumps that pay off later. And is that going to happen with Malik Washington in Maryland?
Yeah, I think so. Although they just like changed OCs, right? Like Pep Hamilton is like taking a new role with Maryland, right? Who was the OC last year? So I don't know. There's
Clint Trickett, is that right? Clint Trickett?
I think that's right. NASCAR driver.
Yeah.
I'm a little like iffy on Maryland generally. Like I wonder, like, is Malik Washington going to have like all of what he needs around him to continue to grow at the pace that Maryland fans would like him to? I'm a little unsure of that, but he's got a lot of talent. So I think it's a pretty good situation considering what like the rest of Maryland is right now.
Yeah. My greatest failure as a podcast host is the ongoing inability to say this name correctly. Cal, JKS, your guy, true freshman last year, second year in college this year, second year as a starter, 12 career starts. Give it to the people.
Jaron Kiave Sangapulatele.
He's going to be with Tosh Lapoy as the new head coach there coming over, former Oregon defensive coordinator. Like I wonder, Cal, I mean, if you ran through the Power 68 and were like, I don't know, who are the 6 most forgettable teams in the Power 68 when you have a program like Cal that's as West Coast as it gets and you're in the ACC and it's like, I don't know, but I don't know. Tosh Lapoy and this quarterback's the real deal, right? Isn't he? He's your guy, man. He had some awesome games last year.
He did, yeah, and he had some like not so awesome games, but the thing with I think it's borderline unfair. Maybe it's not even borderline. I think it's unfair to expect a freshman to just be like awesome in every single game. But you want to see him be awesome in some games, and he was awesome in some games. New head coach, like you said, their new offensive coordinator, I think, is a guy they hired from the Bucks, who's like coming back to college. Like to run a version, I'm assuming, of that Bucks offense that's pretty good. So yeah, I think it's hard, right? Like I don't know, like Cal's weird because they're in California and they're in the ACC and they're usually playing when people are asleep. So like I don't know how much JKS might like capture the imagination of the country, but he's got a ton of talent, and he's a guy that was like I would tell people like stay up to watch him because he's going to be pretty exciting, I think, this year.
Opening weekend, JKS against UCLA and Nico Iamaleava, 2 new head coaches. Tosh Lapoy versus Bob Chesney.
Love that.
We'll watch that. Yeah, we'll watch that. Clemson in week 4 for Cal. And again, it's like, what does that look like? It's like we had it 2 years ago when everybody was going nuts for Cal and Fernando Mendoza. And Cal helped Cal contributed to the national championship last year and the Heisman winner. Like this, like, because part of the other thing here, too, is when you think about Bear Bachmeier at BYU, Bryce Underwood at Michigan, Malik Washington at Maryland, and JKS at Cal, 4 places that played true freshmen for all of last year. And to some degree, Mason Heinschel took over as a starter at Pitt, made 8 starts. They all played these true freshmen, and they kept them all for year 2. They did not get swooped. Miami didn't come in and say, hey, thanks for playing JKS for 12 games. We'll take him now for the rest of his career. And I do think there has to be, because we've had this conversation when we do our Ohio State shows and write on Ohio State content, we kind of think you just wrote something about Ohio State freshmen the other day. It's like, do you need to play freshmen? And like, I think you and I kind of both agree. It's like, man, Ohio State lost some guys that didn't play much as freshmen. Should you play them more? But we've certainly heard from some fans that say, well, but if you play the freshmen and then they look good, then it encourages other teams to come in more and come try to lure those guys away. So I don't know what the right balance is with freshmen, but I would imagine when you're Kalani Sitake and you're Mike Loxley and Sharon Moore and the Cal coach like didn't get to stick around to see what happened, but like, is there not a danger a little bit in playing these freshmen because you're like debuting them to all of college football, and when everybody's always a free agent, I don't know, showing your hand.
Yeah, maybe, but I also think like I don't think that was the case with like Bryce Underwood in Michigan. I don't know. I think the sweet spot where I would be concerned is like you play them enough for people to notice how good they are, but they're like not guaranteed to really be a starter the following year. It's like as long as it's clear that you're playing a lot as a freshman, you're going to continue to play a lot. I think you stand a pretty good chance of keeping those guys.
Okay.
So I don't know that I would live in fear of
Okay.
starting fresh. Like if you think a freshman is ready to start or contribute a lot and is in line to start, I think like undoubtedly as a sophomore, I think you're probably okay more often than not.
Okay. Last two guys who are returning starters with at least 12 career starts. Drake Lindsey at Minnesota is a third-year guy, second year as a starter. I've kind of been on the Drake Lindsey bandwagon. His good buddy Coy Parrish is like, yeah, these guys are all about Minnesota. And then Coy Parrish is like, see you later. I'm going to Oregon. Stuff happens. There were times, like certainly we saw Drake Lindsey against Ohio State last year, and he just didn't look ready. Right, like he's a big pocket passer. He's maybe isn't going to solve a lot of problems with your legs. I think when you're young, if you get in trouble and you can solve some problems with your legs, it makes it a little bit easier. He is sort of more your classic drop back guy, but I'm wondering if if he might be able to make a pretty decent step this year.
I think he could. I wonder if so Arkansas hired Ryan Silverfeld, right? And they don't have like a tremendous quarterback situation going into this year. I wonder if they tried to get him to come back home to Arkansas. So I think it's good that Minnesota kept him.
I agree.
Yeah, I think there's something there. I think, is he going to become a first round pick? I don't know that I'd say that, but I think he could be a pretty good Big Ten quarterback.
Yeah.
And I would expect him to make a little bit of a jump this year.
Yeah. And then the last guy who fits in this category, I think you could argue, certainly in the mix, is the most important player in college football in 2026, and it's CJ Carr at Notre Dame, who is a third-year player, is a second-year starting quarterback, made 12 starts last year because Notre Dame didn't make the playoff, and they said no thanks on the bowl, doesn't have a conference championship game, so only played 12 games. They lost their first two games. Like, I don't think that was on CJ Carr, but I thought maybe he had a couple like young moments early on. They're going to open. We talked about this on the Monday show. They open with Wisconsin at Lambeau Field, and they are the favorite to win the national championship as we speak right now. They lost Iamaleava, which is a huge loss, but they supplemented at receiver. They have a lot back, I think, otherwise. And CJ Carr is a Heisman favorite. His team is a national title favorite. And it feels like maybe he's ready for that. Because again, we go back, we were talking about CJ Carr, his first spring game at Notre Dame. And I think everybody kind of anticipated he would be this good. And I think he's this good.
So we're not doing this exercise. I guess we could. We probably should. Like, I know people are like putting out their lists now of like top 10 returning quarterbacks in college football. My list might start with CJ Carr if I had to make one right now.
We can do that later. We have time. Yeah. We could also do it. We could do it after spring football, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's better to do it after spring. Yeah.
We can do it in May or June when we have a little bit more to evaluate. So those are the returning guys with at least 12 career starts. Just again, what I characterize as new starters kind of from inside the program that are kind of, you figure these are going to be the guys. Alessio Milojevic. God, I watched 6 videos to make sure I could say it right. The Michigan State quarterback, and now I can't remember how to say it.
Is it Milivojevic?
Yes. He started 4 games last year, but I'm considering him a new starter. He's the expected starter at Michigan State with new coach Pat Fitzgerald. Julian Lewis at Colorado started 2 games last year as a true freshman, the expected starter for the Buffaloes and Deion Sanders. Mississippi State, Kamario Taylor started 1 game last year as a true freshman, the expected starter. Those are all like pretty new guys, right? And Jared Curtis at Vanderbilt, the expected starter as a true freshman. And Dan Mahon at Duke is the expected starter as a second-year guy because Darian Mensah just left and they don't know what else to do. And then Christopher Vizina is sort of like stands alone almost in power conference college football. As this is like what Ty Simpson was last year, is like a guy, what Gunnar Stockton was last year, as a guy who's not young, but has no experience because he's been sitting behind Cade Klubnik. He's a fourth-year college football player. He's made one career start, and it's kind of who Clemson is rolling with. And again, Bill, like this is a kind of a situation that once upon a time was not that unusual. Hey, you got to wait 3 years for your chance, but we still believe in you, and then you get your chance. And I think it's like one team that's doing it, and it's Dabo Swinney doing it like the old school way. And I don't know if that makes Dabo foolish, if it makes Dabo noble, but there are very few teams in this spot, but it's what the Tigers are doing.
I don't know. I think it might end up making him foolish. I have no idea. When we first talked about doing the show, and you were like just giving me like Cliff Notes version of the data that you found, and you told me that Chris Vizina was going to be Clemson's quarterback, I like did a double take because I was not surprised because it's Dabo, but still, it's like that's what they're doing, really. Like the guy who couldn't beat out Cade Klubnik is going to be their starter now. So, and maybe that's the wrong way to look at it, but yeah, it speaks to like Dabo's taking transfers now. We all know that, but I don't know if that's the way I would have rolled if I were Clemson.
But I would imagine, like, we don't know. We're not studying Clemson inside and out, but it's like if Dabo's like, we owe it to this guy. We need to be loyal, but also, I don't know. Should they have gone and should they have been in the market for
Darian Mensah,
or Caton Hauser from East Carolina, who's transferring to be the Illinois starter, or should they have gone after Josh Hoover from TCU, or should they should they have been in the Sam Leavitt sweepstakes, right? Like but that doesn't feel like where they are. And again, on one hand, it's like if Christopher Vizina is a guy that you like and he's put in the time, and you think he's going to be good, oh, great, right? Isn't that great? On the other hand, like, I don't know if you could find $5 million laying around, Sam Leavitt's ready to go. So but it's just crazy to me that there's just so few situations like this anymore. And then I had 4 teams that it's like, you don't know exactly. Alabama, 2 in-house guys, Keelan Russell and Austin Mack battling for the job. Arkansas, there's an in-house guy in KJ Jackson, and then AJ Hill. I think I have this right. It followed Ryan Silverfield from Memphis. He was like the big recruit at Memphis last year, didn't play, but he followed. Kansas is replacing Jalen Daniels, who was a starter there forever. They have a 3-way battle, including a guy who was the Rice starter last year, battling with 2 in-house guys. And then Iowa, Jeremy Hecklinski and Hank Brown, as you said. Brown's made 2 starts. Hecklinski never has. They're both transfers, but they both were at Iowa last year as backups, right? Hank Brown came from Auburn. Hecklinski came from Wake Forest, and it feels like that's what they're going to do. They didn't go out to get another guy after they got Mark Gronowski for 1 year. So state of quarterbacks, man, the bottom line is like it's one of those, I think like if you are following your team and you think, oh, man, we have a veteran quarterback, we're good to go. That's the baseline. Like congratulations on having a veteran quarter. It's not an edge. It's a necessity. Just the way the sport has worked out this year.
Yeah, I think like I don't know. I think we should publish this list. I think maybe we'll publish it on our Substack so people can get eyeballs on it.
Yes,
but like you ran through everyone, like all of them here, but like it's to see it in writing is like pretty wild to see how experienced these quarterbacks are.
So let me do this real quick. This is the Big Ten, expected starting quarterbacks in the Big Ten. That the quarterback history of the Big Ten has at times been checkered, but we also feel like quarterback play in the Big Ten is getting better, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, all right. So these are the sort of expected guys. Big Ten, it's a little bit of a repeat here, but just to think about it in this context. Penn State, Rocco Becht, transfer from Iowa State, 36 career starts. Indiana, Josh Hoover, transfer from TCU, 31 career starts. Nebraska, Anthony Calandria, transfer from UNLV, Virginia before that, 31 career starts. Caton Hauser at Illinois, transfer from East Carolina, 26 career starts. Aiden Childs at Northwestern, transfer from Michigan State, 20 career starts. Colton Joseph, transfer from Old Dominion, 20 career starts. Dylan Lonergan at Rutgers, transfer from Boston College, previous to that at Alabama, like actually didn't work out at Boston College. But like we were kind of excited when Dylan Lonergan wound up at Boston College originally, right?
Yeah, well, I just like ended up not paying a whole lot of attention to what was going on there. I know that we had him and Grayson James. Was like, did he play poorly when they gave him the chance, or did he just never
I
really
think
get
so.
an opportunity?
He played poorly, and then BC like brought in a guy from Saginaw Valley State or something. So I think it wasn't like it kind of wasn't great for Dylan Lonergan there. So now the returning guys: Nico Iamaleava at UCLA, 25 career starts; Jaden Maeva, USC, 24 career starts; Dante Moore, Oregon, 20 career starts; Damon Williams Jr., Washington, 15 career starts; Julian Sayin, Ohio State, 14 career starts; Ryan Brown, Purdue, 14 career starts; Bryce Underwood, Michigan, 13 career starts; Malik Washington, Maryland, 12 career starts; Drake Lindsay, Minnesota, 12 career starts; Alessio, say it again. Milivojevic, 4 career starts at Michigan State, and then the Iowa battle. So the only team that kind of doesn't know their guy probably is Iowa, and the only 2 teams that don't have a starter with at least 10 career starts is Iowa and BC. But like that's a pretty good. Like you think about Sayin and Moore and Underwood and Maeva and Nico and Damon Williams as guys who are returning, Drake Lindsay, Malik Washington, and then you added Becht and Hoover and Childs and Colton Joseph. Like, I don't like that's a pretty good Big Ten quarterback crop, isn't it?
Yeah, I was actually trying to like, you can't say definitively, obviously, until they start playing, but I think it certainly looks like on paper it's got the chance to be about as strong as maybe the Big Ten's been in the quarterback, especially if you think of like we have the conversations a lot, right? Like if you're defined by your middle tier or whatever, but like if the middle tier of Big Ten quarterback play is like Malik Washington,
right?
That's pretty good. It's because the top that has a chance to be elite, like the top, whatever, like Sayin, Moore. I think I would have to throw Hoover in there. I think I would throw Underwood in there. Like that's strong. That's like you're talking about guys who I think like can and will contend for the Heisman Trophy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. I don't know if there's maybe a historical thing we could do.
Yeah,
looking back at Big Ten quarterback play. And how this one stacks up, but yeah, it looks pretty strong.
And I think you can even think about what is the expected level of quarterback play at that Big Ten school compared to what the standard is of quarterback play at that Big Ten school, right? And are you anticipating something that is above the standard, at the standard, or below the standard? And it's just like one of those, again, it's like, okay, Aiden Childs didn't exactly work out at Michigan State, right? But like what he potentially can bring to Northwestern, that is like the talent that's there for Aiden Childs is above the typical standard of Northwestern quarterback play.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And like what Nico Iamaleava is doing at UCLA, for everything he isn't like it is above the recent standard of UCLA quarterback play. Right. And like, again, like what Rocco Becht's going to do, like as Drew, where is Drew Aller being projected as an NFL quarterback right now?
Oh, actually, I don't know because it's not first round. So it's like they don't talk about him.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find him mock draft.
But like, there's a chance that like, no, Rocco Becht. I actually think Rocco Becht has a shot because I feel like when Rocco Becht had good receivers, he was good to go. Like I think their receivers weren't as good. Clearly, they weren't as good last year because Iowa State lost 2 NFL receivers. And then like if Penn State can just get it situated, like they're gonna have good tight ends. I mean, they lost good running backs. I don't know. I actually am kind of intrigued about what Rocco Becht is going to do this year. But again, like recent history, Wisconsin, like Colton Joseph is going to be ahead of the recent standard of Wisconsin quarterback play, right? Like it's just like there's a lot of teams that are like for their Malik Washington is ahead of the recent standard of Maryland. Like Talia Tagovailoa is good. I think Malik Washington can be better, right? So like that's the thing we're talking about. That like there is opportunity that a lot of Big Ten teams are kind of on their front edge of how good their quarterback play can be.
On the consensus big board on NFL mock draft database, Drew Aller is 106.
106. Okay. Yeah. So that's like a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
Like supplemental pick, late 3rd round pick. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck to him. So we just like this is something, this is like a baseline, like let's just get this information out to the folks kind of discussion. So like again, as you can see, we didn't do who do you think is going to be better? Nico Iamaleava or Rocco Becht. Like, but we needed to get this out here first to have this discussion. But then I think, like, as we get into the summer after spring football's over, what's the best quarterback conference going to be? Who are your quarterback dark horses? Who are the top 10 quarterbacks in the sport? Which schools, like, again, are above their standard at quarterback, or at the standard, or below it? Like, we can have all kinds of things where we're analyzing it a little bit more. But we had to get you the facts, because the facts be crazy.
The facts are crazy. Yes. And I don't know. I don't know. I guess it'll be this way for until something drastic happens with the way the sport puts its rosters together. I think you're going to see a whole lot of 30 and 20. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe there's whatever. Maybe when we look back in 5 years, this will be perhaps the peak of experienced quarterback play, because it does, to see this many guys who were starting who have 20 career starts is nuts.
Yeah. I mean, and there, but it also is like, guys, the money is keeping them in school, right? So that's part of it. And even if it's like, well, I'm not going to stay at my place, I'm going to go transfer somewhere else for my last year, because I can make more money here than I'm not going to be a first round pick, like, financially. And there's just so many guys. There's a couple there's a 7th year guy, there's a couple 6th year guys, but there are so many 5th year quarterbacks. It's unbelievable. So, all right, that's it. Thanks to you guys for letting us throw a bunch of numbers at you. We will write about this in our Substack, BillandDougOSU.substack.com. We'll lay out the numbers. So if you don't want to try to remember them all in your head, if you don't want to write them down yourself, we'll have it at our site. You can come join us as a subscriber over there. We'll continue to talk Ohio State on this channel. We'll continue to talk Big Ten, Northern, National College football on this channel. We'll continue to bring you around the something. So 2 Mondays ago, it was Around the Shot. It was about Ohio State basketball. This past Monday, it was Around the Big Ten. It was about Big Ten football. We're going to get back to Around the Shoe, and more specifically about Ohio State football. But we appreciate you guys consuming whatever we put out. For now, he's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was the Bill and Doug Show.